So now we have Republicans and Democrats working together. We have a lying president who just mumbles and says things, and you can't even really tell what he's saying. You have Kamala Harris. We have no idea what she's doing as a vice president. And then we find out through the Twitter files that the federal government not only was running a propaganda outfit through social media, and still is, just not on Twitter anymore, but they had a full PSYOPs campaign going. Now, if you really look at Twitter files 7 and 8, it is no longer disputable that the federal government completely breached the First Amendment. Because just because Congress shall make no laws doesn't mean that they're allowed to stump freedom of speech and use private businesses to do so. They were pressuring, they were ordering, and they were literally working within private industry to create narratives. It's not even disputable anymore. Because it wasn't just the Twitter files are saying this stuff. There are receipts. At least 10 former DOJ employees. So that's FBI, CIA, NSA, Homeland, I believe, went to go work for Twitter. They left the alphabet agencies to go work for Twitter so that they can disseminate information in a different way. So that they can create fake accounts and try to persuade and shift narratives overseas. I don't care about overseas, honestly. But I do believe that the company that they're using should know what they're doing. And some people did, some people didn't. Baker got fired from the FBI, went to Twitter, but really never left the FBI. This is a government official who's still holding secret meetings outside of his employer's knowledge about his employer and how to utilize his employer to disseminate information. So he got fired, but he was still an acting FBI agent. Why else would he be meeting with the FBI after they fired him? Disgraced. Why is he still consulting with them? Was he getting paid? Oh yes, he was. Because the federal government paid out to Twitter, a private company, for their employees' time, over $3 million. I want to say $3.5 million. Taxpayers' dollars. Taxpayers' dollars paid private employees at Twitter to create new narratives and lie to the taxpayers about what taxpayers' money was going to and who the taxpayer was electing, and anything else they wanted. And they just were at their disposal. The federal government used our money to pay private citizens to act against us and against our votes and undermine election integrity. All we've heard about since Trump got in office in 2016 was Russia's engagement on social media in the attempt to undermine election integrity. I told you everything, not some of the things, not most of the time, not some of the time. Everything that the federal government, especially on the left, tells you is projection. It is what they are doing. And they prove it over and over and over again. Russia collusion. Election interference. It's what they did. And it wasn't just Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Google, which is massive enough. Because that's pretty much all information. That's probably over 90% of information that people get just out of those organizations that I gave. It's probably higher than that. It's probably 95 to 98% of all information is going to go through Twitter, Google for sure, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, all these platforms, Instagram, they all worked to sway your opinion on whatever they did not like. This is the federal government of the United States. This is a 100% breach of the First Amendment. But Trump. And I'm not sure if you paid attention to this Elon Musk, the Twitter files rollout, but how he did it shows why this man is where he is. It's genius. Because if you paid attention and you looked at the threads after every Twitter file release, people were saying, just give us all the information. Why are you withholding information? Just dump it all. Even Dorsey was doing that. Just give us all the information. Give us all the... It's too much. And he knows it's too much. But they want to make chaos. They want everybody picking what they want so they can create narratives, and it just separates everything. So he's doing it very calculated. You, reporter A, reporter B, reporter C, reporter D, E, F, G. You guys all take this, tell me what you find, and report on it. Like real journalists do. They wanted chaos. They wanted all the information released. They wouldn't say why, they just did. That way they can hide all this really, really, really bad, illegal stuff, unconstitutional stuff. They just wanted it all out there. They wanted the chaos so that you couldn't have these very specific things that the government was doing and working with Twitter. It's criminal. But he separated it. Very, 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 very intelligent what he did and how he did it. It's fascinating stuff. It's illegal. And in my opinion, this is grounds to completely dismantle the FBI. CIA is different. They work overseas. They're supposed to only work overseas. But the FBI has got to go. The NSA has got to go. These agencies are now more powerful than the federal government. These agencies can go in front of intelligence committees, judicial committees, and say, I can't answer that. These are oversight committees. As a matter of national security, I can't answer that question. Do they answer it in private session? In secret session? Maybe. I don't know. How do we know? When you see our head of the FBI saying that there are Chinese prisons in this country, and Chinese police stations, I should have said. Chinese! In the United States, they have police stations.
It's been reported that the Chinese Communist Party are operating police stations in the United States in an effort to surveil Chinese dissidents. It seems obvious the U.S. shouldn't allow its most significant geopolitical rival, an oppressive communist regime, to establish police stations in the U.S. What authority or jurisdiction does the CCP have in the U.S.?
How is it possible and how is it legal that there are Chinese police stations in the United States? I mean, how is this not just one big building of spies in this country? And the FBI, head of the FBI says, yeah, it's very concerning to me too.
Senator, like you, I'm very concerned about this. We are aware of the existence of these stations. I have to be careful about discussing our specific investigative work, but to me it is outrageous to think that the Chinese police would attempt to set up shop, in New York, let's say, without proper coordination. It violates sovereignty and circumvents standard judicial and law enforcement cooperation processes. And the reason this is so important is because we have seen a clear pattern of the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party, exporting their repression right here into the U.S. And we've had now a number of indictments that you may have seen of the Chinese engaging in uncoordinated quote-unquote law enforcement action right here in the United States, harassing, stalking, surveilling, blackmailing people who they just don't like or who disagree with the Xi regime.
Well, what do you mean concerning? Get rid of them! How is it concerning? It's not legal. We have espionage acts. We have things that don't allow spies to operate in this country. But the Chinese government, communist government, has police stations in the United States of America. And our head of the FBI says, yeah, it's really, really worrisome.
Well, it's a real problem, and it's something that we're talking with our foreign partners about as well, because we're not the only country where this has occurred.
They don't have any right to be here, right?
Well, we're looking into the legal parameters of it, so I want to be a little bit careful not to get out over my skis on that, but suffice to say, I can tell you from an FBI director perspective, I'm deeply concerned about this, and I'm not going to just let it lie.
Okay. Secretary, does it impact Homeland Security at all?
Well, of course, the threat of China is one of the most significant threats that we face in the homeland. It's not only a matter of national security, it's a matter of homeland security in a number of arrays, in a number of areas of our mission.
Do you think you have the ability to shut them down? Do you know if you have the right to shut them down?
I would have to defer to the Department of Justice with respect to the legal
It would go to Justice, not Homeland Security? Okay. So it would be under FBI?
Well, or to the extent that the remedies might be some part of the Justice Department outside the FBI, that could also be a possibility. And then there may be a State Department dimension to this that we're looking into.
You're the head of the FBI. He said, well, what do you know about it? Yeah, I don't know. I just know it doesn't look good.
So when you know they're here, do you know if they're surveilling U.S. citizens? Do you know that yet? Do you have enough information to know if they are?
Well, again, I don't want to get too far into our ongoing investigative work, but as I said, we have seen plenty of situations in the past where the Chinese government, under the pretext of going after corruption, have essentially used that as a vehicle to surveil. We've had situations where they've planted bugs inside Americans' cars, for example.
There's no focus. I'm all over in this video because this is where our government is. All the while they're telling us how great they're doing. And they're celebrating nonsense. We got Brittany Griner back. Nobody cares. 20 people showed up to her homecoming.
Welcome to University Baptist Church, both for those of you here and those of you who are here on live stream. Welcome to UBC, and welcome to this service of celebration for the release from captivity of our sister, Brittany Griner.
But they put out a campaign online to make it seem like this is the popular thing right now. This is what's trending. Brittany Griner's free. Free Brittany Griner. They're making issues, and they're pretending that that's what the American people want, or American people care about. They're telling you what to care about, how to care about it, the level of importance of what you care about. And now the priorities is Ukraine. Absolute nonsense. But this is where we're at now. We are being fed information by agencies that need to be dismantled. They are un-American. There's nothing American about these agencies. They have to go. I just don't know if anybody's powerful enough to get rid of it. That there should tell you that they have to go. If the president gets information withheld from him by these people, which we've seen it happen, if the oversight committees have information withheld from them by these organizations and they can't do anything about it, we've seen that happen, then the organization must go. Intelligence gathering should not be to gain power over the people who are overseeing them, elected officials. These people aren't elected. FBI officials, they're not elected. How do they have more power? How do they have more power than our government? They don't. They shouldn't. It's time to shut them down.